instead of 5 minutes. It's okay. Here we go. Great. Now we're live on Facebook and recording on Zoom. Perfect. Great. Well, thanks, everyone. Thanks for tuning in, watching.
Yes.
My guest today is a gentleman who I met a few years ago. I remember the first time I met you, we actually did an interview, and we were somewhere in Arizona at the National Academy of Sports Medicine conference.
That is correct.
And it was a blast, and I've seen you at other conferences since then. My guest today is the founder of Function First Fitness. Is fitness the name? I'm very, very sorry.
Just Function First.
Sorry, folks. Function First, founded in 1994, right?
Yes, sir.
Fantastic. And also the inventor of the Coretex, which we're going to talk about that today. And his background and the work he does, especially related to pain and so many other things, is so diverse and he's so knowledgeable. So welcome, my guest, everyone, Mr. Anthony Carey. How's it going, man?
Spectacular, buddy. It's great to be with you. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. I've been wanting to do this for a while, but it's just been so busy, and now I'm kind of a little bit of downtime here and there. So, yeah, you're in San Diego area. You have Function First, which I know you're doing so many great things there, and of course the Coretex. So I really want to talk about that with some people, with you, so people know about it. So, what is new for you? What's going on lately? I think you might have something new related to Coretex. Is that right? And maybe we should tell people what Coretex is first, for those who don't know.
Sure. Coretex is a reactive platform. It's about 30 inches in diameter. It's got a patented motion. It's the only thing that tilts, slides, and rotates unrestricted. And we use it everything from obviously core training and some balance stuff, but it's amazing for multi-directional mobility applications too. So being used in rehab and fitness and sports medicine clinics. We've got a lot of professional sports teams using it, and very excited about how other pros are using it and inspiring me with it.
That's great. You know, I've seen it in my travels, and like I was saying before, I need to get one because I'm pretty much stationary here. Even before COVID, I decided to diminish my travel by about 90% because it was just about killing me, although I enjoyed many aspects. So I was up at Ken Miller's place in Alameda, and I think he had a couple of them, and I've been at other places where they have them. So we'll do with our Parkinson's program, we get people on it, or anyone on it. It's just so good. It's such a versatile tool for movement in general, and I love it.
Well, thank you. It is, and it's a tool, and we consider it an environment in that you can do so much with it versus it being limited to one thing, and that's actually a double-edged sword because some people just want a cookie cutter. I sit down and I do this, but the pros like Ken Miller who got great programming skills figure all the best ways to use it, and obviously the applications to the right people at the right time.
Yeah, and I think, is there an option of like having a handle or a railing on it of some type to hold on for stability?
Yeah, it comes with either one or two handrails. So there's a two handrail where it's on either side, which we came out with a couple years ago because it was of interest to the post rehab and the senior market because they felt more comfortable stepping into it with the handrails on either side. So yeah, that's it's very popular as well.
Yeah, that worked. It's so good. So we were at Ken's place with my Parkinson's workshop, a 2-day thing, weekend. And like most workshops, we have people come in at varying levels of, let's say, ability to move.
Yeah.
And so it's really handy to have the handles there, the rails there. And what's interesting is, well, better than I do. People's movement can change very quickly many times.
Yep.
It doesn't necessarily have to take weeks, months, or longer. Sometimes within one session, range of motion improves, movement improves. These little things that are simple, maybe not easy, but simple. When somebody realizes, oh, I can do this, they get they start to believe they can do it. They get hopeful and they're empowered. And then all of a sudden they start like going for it. And it's pretty
That's
cool.
exactly right. That's exactly right. So you have a top down influence, which is their confidence and their sense of safety, and then you of course have the bottom up that's coming reflexively from the outside, from the periphery,
Yeah.
that's telling you, hey, this isn't as risky as we thought it was. Whether that's on the cortex or any kind of balance work or pain is another thing that obviously that ties into a lot as well.
Yeah. In fact, I was just thinking about that. How do you tie the cortex into the pain management that you work? Because you work a lot with people doing pain management, right? Pain reduction, finding the pain, the actual source.
Well, they certainly have found the pain. That's why they come to see us,
Mhm.
and we don't generally refer to, although many of my our peers do call it pain management, but I would just call it's exercise for people with chronic pain, because what it does is it does change the body's perception of what's dangerous and what's not dangerous is
Mhm.
one of the aspects what we do. And then also we're using a lot of biomechanical principles to reduce stress from the body. So there's a lot that goes into sort of the entire process that ultimately, through movement, through exercise, leads to these improvements that people feel in pain. So in that respect, they're moving better, they're feeling, and their pain is going down significantly in time, sometimes instantly, and then it's a continual process. But it is really a matter of a lot of inputs that makes them get to that next level. The same way with pain science, there's a lot of inputs that gets them there
Yeah,
in the first
sure.
place. It's not just a postural thing or something like that. There's a whole lot when it gets to the chronic level that's contributing to their experience.
Yeah. Whenever I talk with you, I always learn so much. Like already, I'm thinking about the various inputs that you said. Because, I mean, these are things that I know, but sometimes I forget I know things. And then I forget the perspective is really important. Like, more inputs to the brain is going to be helpful, right? More
If it's the
stimulation,
right
more
inputs.
more
If,
aware. If it's the right input, like proprioceptive input. Um,
well,
how
you know what else?
how?
You know what else is an input, Carl, is their sense of confidence in you, your demeanor,
Yeah,
the
yeah, totally.
environment that you're working with them in. They're all inputs that we as fitness pros tend to not even consider. We think proprioception, we think, mechanical stress or strength or mobility, whatever it is. But if you're an idiot to your client, but they think, hey, this is the best guy on the planet, they're not going to have the same input if you're not actually coming as the genuine, authentic person you are. It makes a huge difference.
Absolutely huge. I mean, this is a little bit of a diversion, but I know you've probably seen this because you've done a lot of traveling and teaching all over the place. And you'll see a trainer who might be, the intentions are usually always good, generally speaking, I think. Especially if they show up at one of your workshops or one of mine. They're usually good intentions.
Right.
Their level of knowledge may be marginal, but if they're really good at communicating and empathizing and understanding, they've got a good business, usually.
You're
More
exactly right.
so more so than the one who's got all the knowledge in the world and can't talk to anybody or has they're just an ass or something.
Yep.
So, empathy is a big thing too, and understanding. And I think actually for me, I'll be 60 this year. So uh, people look and I think they like that I'm not 25 because
Sure.
I've had my own problems and I can actually relate to a lot of stuff when people are saying, oh, this hurts and all that. And I was like, man, I know what you mean.
That's huge,
It
right?
helps. Yeah. But I'm an ass.
Empathy,
I'm an ass.
em-
You don't want to work with me. So,
empathy cannot be overrated. It
yeah,
can be overrated in the human experience, whether it's group X or whether it's working with special population. It
yeah,
can't be overrated.
totally. So, if you don't mind, I want to go back. I want to talk about the cortex. Now, I'm sorry, I'm sometimes my ADHD kicks in and I just need to focus. We were talking about pain. People come in, they feel pain. Like, in what ways are you using cortex to, let's say, just as a process of maybe discovering whatever it is that they can discover to help them to understand maybe how to deal with the pain, things like that. Like, how is cortex and pain put together? What's your approach? And maybe also, what's the most common pain that you run into, or the most common complaint?
Well, the most common complaint that I see is the same that the data suggests, which is 8.5 out of 10 people in the industrialized world are going to experience lower back pain at some point in their life,
Yeah,
right?
I figured
So
so.
yeah, and I'll see people that have been chronic at a certain level, and then it becomes acute. A lot of the real acute sort of radicular neurological stuff, generally we want them referred out first, and then we'll see them after the fact, clear any kind of medical related emergencies for sure. So again, the chronic person is typically, so first of all, chronic pain is defined as anything that's been consistent for 3 months or intermittent or for 6 months or more, right?
Okay.
So we will generally have seen somebody that's already sort of been through some other form of traditional medical treatment with physical therapy, chiropractic, maybe surgery, maybe injections. Maybe you've done it in the past and done it again and been through cycles of it, whatever it is. We're not really the first line because a lot of these people need that clearance ahead of time. So whether it's for their back or for their knee or for their shoulder, whatever it is, we will see them at that point. And so they just haven't been satisfied because obviously they're still in pain, and also people generally, a lot of the traditional medical model is forced to look at people through a very narrow lens, a myopic lens based on what hurts.
Yeah.
So we come at it certainly from a little bit more of a dynamic systems approach, which is again all the inputs and all the ways that we can empower them besides just the exercises that we give them. But ultimately, as it relates to Coretex, one of the things that we do with Coretex is when you have anything that can create sort of a rhythmical oscillating motion, okay, think about rocking a baby, right? Why does rocking a baby soothe the baby to help it go to sleep? Because it's got a low amplitude, meaning it's not like this, right? And it's very rhythmical, and the timing that's related to it is soothing to the nervous system. So with a person with chronic pain, we can do certain things that are very controlled to do gentle motions. That would be one way because it down regulates the threat response, right? So if you think of the needle moving at, hey, everything's safe, it's a small world in Disneyland, or I'm all the way up here where I'm in the middle of the most threatening thing in the jungle with a tiger looking at me, right? We can down regulate that through using the body to reduce that threat is one of the ways we do it. And then the other way is that because it's has so many options in the movement capability of it, we can utilize it to pre-position things that we want to have happen. Right? So if it's a flat, hard surface versus something that's conforming, that compresses or squishes, we can use it like it's the floor. And I want the floor to do this. I want the floor to do this. I want the floor to do this and this at the same time because I want the subtalar joint to do this, or I want to load the knee medially this way. And I can play with that. So I can have my hands on it, or I can pre-position them in a certain way where they can take advantage of what the platform does.
Yeah, I love it. Multi-planes of motion, all kinds of different positions that you can use with that. It's a great tool. All right, so do you have something you were showing me off camera beforehand? Is there something new that's out?
Yeah, so I'm pretty excited about this because this is sort of a mass market kind of thing. This is Coretex Sit. And so this goes on, you would use it on a flat and kind of firmer chair or something with a little bit of cushioning, but it's convex on top, and again, doesn't compress. And then it tilts, slides, and rotates. So your butt's on there.
Yeah, that's so
right?
cool.
So think about all of us work from home folks now that are spending so much time like this. This adds all that variability to the hips and the low back. So it's responsive like Coretex, and that creates reactive upregulation of little core muscles when you need them. It's great for the low back. It's actually great for the pelvic floor as well.
Sure.
And it's something you could just lift on and off your chair 15 minutes an hour if you wanted to, or do something like that.
Oh, that's genius, man. Especially because even before COVID, and now probably more so since the pandemic came around, more of us, including myself, I have to purposely get up and move now because I'm not moving as much. Right.
Exactly
So
right.
there's a lot more sitting going on, a lot more hip flexion, a lot less movement. And what do they say? It's a phrase, something like you take the shape of your furniture.
Yeah.
So, or what you do. So if I'm like this all the time, sitting, type, well, or text neck. That's a famous one. I'm guilty as charged. That's great.
Yeah, and what we think is the way it's going to be important is that so much of what is considered now intervention for these issues is requires a bunch of change, right? Either you got to sit this way, or you got to prop the chair, or you got to stand, or even if you're sitting on a ball requires you to be switched on the whole time, or else you're going to fall off the ball. Where this creates all that variability, but I could also just rest on the backrest of a chair if I wanted to. So what's the shortest route to helping anybody is minimize how much behavior change that they have to consciously, introduce to what they're used to doing anyway. So whether that's with this, or whether that's with diet, or whether that's with sleep, how much can we improve things without asking giant behavioral changes of people? We're more likely to get some positive and consistent results from that.
Absolutely. That's a really good point too. I never really thought about that. I mean, I have, but not the way you said it. That's, again, one of the reasons I love to talk with you is because you give me a perspective shift. But, the idea of being able to sit on that, and you still have the reactive aspect going on, and core when you need it, and then take a break.
Yep.
That, I'll tell you, there's one reason I don't sit on the ball. Well, the two reasons. I don't have a ball big enough that makes me feel like I'm okay on it without some kind of weird, well, probably pain actually. And it's just too much work. And I'm lazy. No, not really, but okay, so that's another thing I need to get.
That there's a lot of involved in sitting on the ball, which can be counterproductive over time as well. Having to sit and hold that for hours at a time, right?
Yeah. I mean, everything has its place, and I think that adjustment is a really important thing. How much behavior are you willing to change, or how much behavior will change? What will people do? So this is a step towards a ball. Actually, I just forget about the ball and use that.
Well, one of the interesting things about this that a lot of people are asking about, because we just launched it, right? We finally got our inventory and it's out now. But the top of it is shaped like a ball because it's convex, but it doesn't compress, which means that you get to unload your tailbone, so your tailbone doesn't have any pressure. Takes your sit bones and creates a little bit of space for them, and it also provides a little bit of upward contact to your perineum. So for all the pelvic floor folks, that helps with awareness with all their pelvic floor related exercises.
Right. And I was just thinking, if you had a stool, or something big enough, you could put it on that with no back. That's an option too.
Yep, we've had people do that as well. Yep.
Which is maybe just a little bit an advancement, a progression forward of sorts, because there's no option to lean back. But you don't have to think about the ball rolling all over the place either at the same time.
We're taking up 3 feet in your office space either, right?
That's very true. Yeah, I had a ball under my desk for the longest time, and I didn't use it hardly at all, and not as a chair at my desk. That was the intention, and I just put it somewhere else because it's taking up too much space.
Yeah,
I don't have enough.
Balls are great. Balls are great.
Yeah.
We use them for lots of stuff, but if there's a simpler option, that's what
especially with sitting, and if I'm going to sit and talk with you for a half hour, 45 minutes, an hour, I don't want to be on a ball. But that thing, so it's called the Coretex Sit.
Yes.
Oh man. So just for people tuning in, because there's a few people who came in, can you show us this one more time? Can you show us the Coretex Sit? Just so you know what we're talking about, everybody. So it rotates. Yep. It doesn't compress.
Yep. Rotates, slides, spins, tilts. So you can do all that kind of stuff. So when your butt's on there and you're moving, that's doing all that to your pelvic platform, right? Which influences the low back and kind of unloads structures and keeps tissue hydrated. The only way you can do that is using both your intrinsic core and your more superficial core to kind of control and stabilize, and so you
Beautiful.
We actually have the library is going to go up on the website in about a week, but we have there's purposeful exercises you can do with it. So if you're doing it therapeutically, you can do certain things, and then you can also just sit on it and responsibly use it as you reach for your phone, or you turn around and check what country you were in last on your map there behind you, whatever it was, right?
Yeah, I have a collection of maps. I really, and globes. I like globes and maps. So yeah, right now this is my background, but yeah, exactly. Rotate, and you've got some reactive training, core training. So let me think here. Where can people get the Coretex if they want to order one, and the new Coretex set?
Everything is on our Coretex website, which is coretexfitness.com. CORETEX fitness.com.
Okay, great. That's great. I think everyone should buy one. Are you listening? So as I say in my workshops, if I wasn't ridiculous, I'd be completely boring. But I have to be that way sometimes. Just buy one. Everyone buy one. So what else is going on, Anthony? You do I'd love to talk with you about the brain, because you know a lot about it. Even though you told me there are people who know more. I don't care.
Way more.
You know stuff that you know. And do you find that you have any specific way, and I'm sure it varies from person to person, in how you work with somebody to get them to change their behavior? Because that really comes down to this thing right here between our ears. It comes down to our learned patterns and our belief patterns in our circuitry that's already in place, and we just want to fire up those circuits. That's what's going to hit first. But we need to develop new circuits, and we need to start to change. And what I love about the brain, been studying this, or following this researcher from Stanford, Dr. Andrew Huberman. He's so articulate in how he delivers information about the brain, the nervous system, and all the other things he talks about. Recently on his new podcast, he's talking about how all of our organs in our body change over time, but there's only one that can decide to change itself. Like the liver's not going to say, hey, I think I just want to change myself. We can do things to help our health of our liver, but our brain decided to do it. We decided, free will, right? But the brain can change with all these neural circuitry, firing patterns that can be developed. So in my really long-winded approach to asking this question again, what's your approach in working with people as far as behavior change?
Well, if we keep it in the context of the types of clients that I see, which is exclusively the chronic pain, right? So I don't have any experience helping people with behavior change to lose weight, for example, or even an athlete who needs to become more dedicated. I don't have any experience with that. What we do with folks, and so number one, at some level, you have to have leverage on them in the best interest of their objectives and their goals, right? So the person comes in chronic pain, if I could just sit in my office and go abracadabra, you're better, they pay me for that and they'd leave, right? So that's the net that they're after, right? That's the end game that they're after. So for us to be able to get them to buy in to what we have to offer them to help them get there, there has to be some kind of proof, right? Now, leverage works in a bunch of ways. One of the ways that I actually have leverage, and this just comes from being long and worked with enough people successfully over the years, there's actually leverage in the fact that somebody has been referred to me by somebody else who's already had success, right? So that gives me leverage in that, okay, they're going to listen. They have some confidence in me that I'm going to be able to help them, right? They know that historically other people have benefit from. So that in and of itself is leverage. Now, for the new trainer, you don't have that. But anybody that can leverage their reputation and their track record becomes a way that you can influence the positive behavior that you're looking with the person that you're working with. But the other big thing for the person in chronic pain is they got to get some kind of value almost immediately, right? So if you think about chronic pain, somebody's had it for a long time. If they go to the doctor, and why do people like shots and pills? Why do people love to leave an appointment with a prescription or an injection? Because they know they got something, right?
Yeah, they got something. It's probably going to help. Yeah, right.
it may help, but it also might be a short term or a quick fix. So sometimes that's the case. Sometimes the medication is extremely necessary, right? We know that for various reasons, but that's why people always feel like, I got some value at least, right? Look, I've got this. I get to run to the pharmacy now, or oh, I got this. So hopefully, I'm going to have some results for that. As fitness pros, we tend to push everything into the distant future of where you're going to see some value, which is legit to a degree. But just as you said, if we can influence somebody's movement and or how they feel immediately, now they have some relevance or reference to where we're headed, right? That gives us leverage.
Yeah.
And so, especially with the chronic pain folks are so used to coming in and, having to, somebody's going to say, okay, we're going to do this for the next 12 weeks. And then maybe there's a light at the end of the tunnel of that 12 weeks. Well, with what we do, again, through multiple inputs, but one of them being that we're really good at the way we strategically exercises that we use, people almost always feel better when they're done with us. And if they don't feel better, at the very least, they're moving better. They're like, wow, it still hurts, but look what I can do now. Kind of thing. So if we can give them that, now they're sort of sold in the sense that we're going to influence their behavior so that they're going to do their homework, right? And if they're going to do their homework, then they're going to start to stack on little successes that ultimately snowball into more momentum.
Absolutely. Yeah, that thing when we were talking earlier about how movement can change in a matter of minutes sometimes, and maybe it's 3, 4, 5 minutes, 2 minutes. It just depends upon what it is, or maybe within an hour. And just that little bit, I don't remember if we were on camera speaking about this or not, but in fact, I have 3 friends on who are in Mexico right now, physical therapists, and 2 people with Parkinson's who are dear, dear friends. So hello, Danny and Melissa and Laura. You're learning from Anthony Carey in the San Diego area. All of these, we have other people too. So thanks for joining, everybody. It's good to see you. And I can say one experience I had was with Angelus, who's watching right now. And I won't go into the story because it takes a while. But within 5 minutes, when I was in Monterrey, Mexico, my first trip there 3 years ago in April, within 5 minutes, she went from feeling defeated and hopeless and actually just didn't believe she could do anything to unstoppable, optimistic, and hopeful. It was unbelievable. When I found out what happened, because I didn't know right then what was going on, but she made a comment later on something. And when I found out, I was in tears because I was so happy that she could do this. And that little bit in that little amount of time, what it had to do with was being able to roll over by herself for the first time in 5 years.
Wow.
Imagine you get up in the morning and the first thing you're faced with is, I need help to get out of bed because I can't roll over. Well, that one, done. She got it down. And then this started like this. She was on this trajectory now of being unstoppable and starting to run again. And I love that. To me, that's like the best and most gratifying thing of my life, other than my new granddaughter. But I love it when this happens. And of course, we have the same goals, you and me. We want to help people.
Yep.
It doesn't feel great when somebody walks out feeling better.
It does. And if I could tag on to that, because it's a point similar to that I often make in terms of that type of clientele. There's people like that. And same with the chronic pain is, you see on social media, all these like before and after, somebody lost 25 pounds over 8 weeks, right? And that's amazing.
That's fine.
It's huge. But when we literally change a person's life that quickly, meaning that we didn't do it, they did it, right? So we just pointed them in the right direction.
Yeah.
But it opened the door to possibilities, right? And so, and that's like that. Yeah. And that's not 8 weeks of changing the way you eat and finally exercising more and all that. That's because we've made a change in the invisible, which is the software, before we did anything with the visible. So meaning she didn't in 5 minutes, she didn't get any stronger, right?
No, not at all.
No way she got stronger. but her software came up with a different solution to the problem, and she had hope and ambition and determination that got her there, right? So that can happen like that. So from a reward standpoint, as you're describing, I mean, that's the top of the mountain right there.
She says, thanks for your support and help. You're very welcome, Angeles. We love you dearly, and your family. And it's what you said. I'm glad you said that, because I forget things sometimes. They're in my mind, but I have so much in my mind sometimes. And she credits me back then for, gave her life back. I actually didn't do anything. I gave her a way to leverage her body. That was it. I said, no, try this, try that. Está bien. Oh, todo bien. Great. It worked. She did the work. I didn't do anything. I just gave a little bit simple stuff. Boom. It worked. And man, it was unbelievable. I just love it when it happens, and that power of positivity, power of hope. Oh man. And the confidence, I can do this. Then they start looking for other things, and it's like life changing, not just for them. Of course, I feel a reward, but they did the work. The family,
Exactly.
caregiver, co-workers. I'm sure you've had this too. People who are out of work, and then they go back to work because they can, and they're happy to be there. Whoa, that's like amazing. Quality of life, seeking an improved quality of life. That's amazing. Love that. I love it so much. It makes me all like tingly and
warm fuzzies inside, right?
Yeah, I get, everything's puppy dogs and rainbows right now.
Awesome.
That's great. Sweet. So let me see. I had another note here. Let me just check it out. All right. We talked about Coretex. Oh, I here it is. You were an early adopter of online training, online education. When COVID hit, I'm just surmising, you probably were pretty ready to just go in and like, okay, we'll go to Zoom or whatever. How has COVID affected you, maybe your business? How are things working out? And you were prepared, weren't you? You knew what to do.
I was in some ways. I mean, I as many clients as I used to. I only see a handful of client appointments a week now. But prior to that, I mean, going back to the early to mid 90s, I've been seeing clients via video.
Okay. Yeah.
So think about this. It's 1996. A client takes a VHS camera, films themselves for me, doing some of the stuff I want them to do, drops that tape into the mails it across country to me.
Yeah.
I now watch it, evaluate it, write up an exercise program, film myself on a VHS tape, and then stick it in the envelope, send it back cross country to them. So somewhere about a week to 10 days later, they get their program. So I've been working with people via video for a long time. But even up until the last few years, I've had clients in 33 states and 17 countries. So I've been doing this remotely with Skype for probably 8 years anyway.
Great.
And so it's something that we had pretty wired in. It wasn't a big deal. It just means flipping a switch and start seeing the person who lives in the same zip code now. We started doing some stuff that way, but it's out of necessity, of course. It's been a great opportunity and option for a lot of people that just needed it and couldn't come in.
Yeah, it's funny. I just had a session a couple hours ago with a father-son team who I see. Father's 86. The son is. I was training him at the university and before they shut down the gym, anyways, and so that was last March around the time when a lot of things shut down. And I was nervous to do a session with the two of them, even though in person it's fine, but I can have them interacting, doing things too, a lot of cognitive training and the movement and whatever. I thought about it. I wrote it down. And, I thought outside and worked outside of my box today. And I feel really good now because now I know I can work with two people at once. I mean, a group class is a little different online, right? Because it's just different. But each of them have their individual needs. And I was I was a COVID adapter to online stuff. I hadn't done anything other than have an online platform where people can go learn at their own pace through, Teachable and videos and whatever. But as far as live, nah. So I was forced into it like a lot of people. And I'm
Like a
really
lot of people.
glad. I'm not glad for COVID, but I'm glad that I have been able to do this now, because it really, it's kind of, have you noticed, and I don't know how you feel about this. Do you feel that there's a different mindset now to video training, because now we know it's actually possible? I think more people as trainers and physios are open to delivering it, and there are more people who are open to receiving it.
Yeah. And it's certainly at a necessity, and I think a lot of people are realizing that uh, it's a viable option when you can't go in person. And
Yeah.
telemedicine has been around for a while anyway.
Hmm.
So unless obviously it takes away the skill set of especially of therapists and chiropractors who are doing the hands-on stuff.
Yeah.
But from a movement standpoint, it's very viable. Very viable. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's been an interesting time.
Well,
I look.
I'm curious, Carl, if you've noticed early on in this, I did a webinar uh, for PT on the Net on cueing, because here
Oh,
you are in a two-dimensional versus a three-dimensional world, and you can't move around the person. You can't always demonstrate exactly what you want, and
mhm.
so the way that we communicate has to adapt to this new environment as well, right?
Totally. And that was my biggest concern about the duo team today, was being able, well, there's also a language barrier. The son speaks English and Korean. The father speaks no English. Now I have a translator there, so it's fine, the son. But I don't know what he's telling the father, and if he's saying it the way I want him to say it exactly.
That's right.
So, because I don't know any Korean. So it's pretty interesting, right? So queuing is a big thing, and it seems like actually I feel like I've had to not necessarily work harder, but be more succinct, more specific in the queuing, and more, whatever it is that I have to show, I have to make sure they can see it.
Yep. Yep.
And then I'm watching them, because I want to make sure I can cue them to make little adjustments here and there. And it's almost like you have to go several times more focused in this queuing, delivery of queuing, than you would in person. Because, like you say, two
Absolutely.
dimension, not three. Yeah.
Yeah. And then we've been even have to start looking at it, whether it's an intrinsic cue or an extrinsic cue in terms of where their
Uh,
focus is, right? Am
yeah.
I are you asking me to focus on my butt, or are you glutes, or are you asking me to focus on where I land with my foot, and all those things impact in
Right.
ultimately the outcome that they're going to demonstrate for us as we're watching.
Yeah. So interesting. So, what's going on otherwise? And when I ask that, I'm wondering, like, any videos, any education coming out, anything we can be looking for.
Oh well, we created the Function First Academy, which has our pain-free movement special level one on, and also just a bunch of resources that's really behind what we do. Myself and my director of education, Kevin Murray, who's up in Edmonton, Alberta, been a big force behind this all coming together. So it's a great resource for anybody that's into corrective exercise and working with clients with chronic pain. There's a bunch of free stuff. You can go 24 hours and go through the whole site. And then also we have several of our curriculums are available on there as well. And it's basically we have several levels, but level one online is really a great introduction to a lot of what we've talked about, and ways that we can better serve clients that are dealing with chronic pain.
Yeah.
And the numbers in chronic pain in terms of percentage of the population is off the charts. More heart disease, diabetes, and
Oh,
stroke
yeah.
combined. So it's
Yeah.
big.
Yeah, absolutely. It is more and more every day. Who's the target market for this? Is this for?
Personal trainers,
Mhm.
massage therapists, and we even had some physical therapists and chiropractors go through it as well.
Good.
But it's generally focused on the fitness person who has some experience with movement and who does not have the licensure to put their hands on people.
Okay. Got it. Yeah. I'm really busy. There's a lot going on, but I've made time for me. And one of the things I've been doing is a lot of reading, studying, research, writing, and I have some education that I really want to do. So it sounds like I have a few things to get from you. I need the Coretex, I need the Coretex sit, and I've got to get the education. So
I know a guy. Carl.
I know, yeah, I know a guy too. This Anthony Carey's the guy, man. Yeah. So, well, I've really enjoyed talking to you as I always do. I appreciate you
Thank you, my
taking the
friend.
time.
Same here.
Yeah, thanks for taking the time. So, Coretex Fitness, Coretex Fitness.com. This is where you go and you'll find the Coretex and the Coretex Sit available. How about the education? Where's the education? What website for
Education's at
trainers?
function. That's at Function First, FUNCTION First, FIRSTED.com. FunctionFirstEd.com.
Okay, great. Good. And I'll post that when I put this video up. I mean, it's Facebook Live right now, but I'll actually do a YouTube thing and edit a couple things on the very front, the very back, and stupid things that I say. Get that out of there. And then
That's not fair. What about the stupid things I say?
nah, you don't say anything stupid, my brother.
That's my
So
wife.
I'll do that. No. And I'll put links in there so people know, and in the YouTube description so they can link right over to you. Hey, I
Much
want to just
appreciated.
thank you. A few friends of mine are watching. Stuart, Frank Newbert, Joel. I owe you a text back, Joel. I'm sorry I didn't text you back. I've been really busy today. And Hillis, Giovanni Pagano, I owe you a phone call. Sandra Houston, happy birthday, because I know it was your birthday a day or two ago. And Danny, George, Christian, Laura, thanks everybody for watching. Really appreciate it very much. And of course,
Definitely.
thanks to my guest, Anthony Carey, Function First, and also the inventor of Coretex. Appreciate it, brother.
Can I say one last thing, Carl?
Absolutely, please.
I just want to say that your persona and your positioning of just being a genuine, authentic guy is something that this industry needs lots of. And so I thank you for being somebody that really cares about not only helping clients, but also sort of your peers as well. And there's just not enough of that, I don't think, and especially at this time where we're helping each other. So thank you for being you, my friend.
Well, thank you a lot from you, coming from you. That really means a lot. I do, ever since I was a little kid, wrote it in. I'm going to send you a copy of my book too, as a gift, because you've taught me so much. It's the least I can do.
Thank
Or
you.
as my son says, no, Dad, the least you could do is nothing. So I'll do at least that. So rather than doing nothing, I'll send you a copy. I'll get your address later. But I was writing in there how I remember people. My grandmother would take me on. I'm like 5 years old, 4 years old, 6, whatever it is. The people struggling, go over, try to open the door for them, or trying to step on a curb and having trouble getting up one step, maybe 8 inches up, 6 inches up. And it's been a long journey to figure out what I want to be when I grow up. But the other thing I noticed, and I really don't mean this with any disrespect to anybody at all, however, for the trainers out there who think they're really cool and all that and have a chip on their shoulder, they whatever, just I hope you do a good job. But empathy is so important, and right now especially, there are a lot of lonely people, and some people, they're not seeing another human for days, weeks at a time. And so if you get a video time like this, it's like a really big deal. But also I also am a believer of sharing education and knowledge, and don't hoard it, because what good is it going to do me? I mean, I want to take what Anthony Carey has, and I want people to know about it, because I know that there's a need for this, and a certain group's going to come in and they're going to eat it up, and they're going to take your education. And so I'm really appreciate that you are willing to share what you do with us, because that means a lot to me. And we can all help each other. That's what it's all about.
Absolutely, my friend.
But thank you for your kind words. You are
Thank you.
of the same spirit and intention, and I love that. So we must stay together, unite,
That's
and
right.
help each other.
That's
All
right.
right. Well, listen, thanks again, man. I appreciate it so much. And again, to people watching, thank you. Anthony, thank you, my friend. We'll be in touch soon.
Awesome.
All
Stay
right.
safe.
Best wishes. Happy New Year. Have a fantastic day.
You
Be in
too,
touch
buddy.
soon. All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye.